Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sales Development Podcast. I am honored and blessed to have a guest from overseas. It's the middle of the night right now, and this guy is so hardcore. He's joining me. Eldad Postan-Koren, co-founder and CEO of Winn.AI. How you doing today, sir?
All good. Hardcore is my middle name.
Okay. Yeah, dude, I know. I would say hardcore is a nice way to say it. You've had a lot of success so far, and now you're building Winn.AI. I want to hear more about it. How did you start the company, and what are you working on?
Amazing. So, briefly about myself. So, I came to the world of sales 5 years ago. Before that, I came from a very different background. I was a naval officer for 7 years. Um, you know, Imagine being on a battleship for such a long time, and then 7 years in the world of social entrepreneurship. So I founded the NGOs. Once again, very different from doing sales. And 5 years ago, I joined the Israeli startup in the world of diabetes, where I became the first salesperson. And I fell in love with this profession. I love the energy, the pace, the closing deals, the combination between EQ and IQ, everything part of one thing, which is filling out the CRM.
Mm,
Horrible, tedious, boring. Um, uh, I think that's a good description of filling out the CRM.
mm,
And 1 year later, I became the head of sales of the company. I discovered how difficult it is to create alignment between the different team members, SDRs, account executives, whether it's about how do they qualify leads, how do they do discovery, how the messaging of the company, and so on. So I went and asked smart people, what should I do? They all told me, write a playbook, write a playbook, write a playbook. So I wrote a playbook. And the day after I wrote a playbook, nobody used the playbook. And that basically was my experience in sales and my personal experience in sales. And those were the two motivations to build Winn.AI. The first one is the how to help people to fill out the CRM and remove this manual work from their day-to-day life, which takes between 20 to 25% of their time, which is one week a day, 1 week one day a week.
mm.
And for sales leader, how to increase the adoption rate of the playbook. And this is Winn.AI all about.
Okay, so you came in, you saw this huge problem, and now you're trying to solve it.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, got it. So they're saving 1 day per week. What is taking so long, and why is it taking so long to fill out a CRM?
So you need to fill out the fields. You need to
Mm,
make sure that everything is updated. When you have 5, 6 calls per day, and you need to update it because your VP sales want it to be updated, or sales ops are pushing you to fill out this, and it takes time. It takes time. You have meetings, back-to-back meetings, and then you forget what happened, and then you go back to recording, and that's the day-to-day life of salespeople. And it affects forecasting. It affects the quality of the follow-up that you can do with your prospects, and the bottom line that it affects the win rate.
mm.
So this is, and every salesperson knows that filling out the CRM is like the number one thing that people don't like.
Yeah,
Um, Part of life,
it sucks. So
Yeah,
how
it
how
sucks.
how are you thinking of the solution that then how did Win AI help with that?
Yeah. So basically, we are a real-time assistant, a real-time AI assistant for salespeople. Like imagine it's like having a Alexa trained to help you to win more. And the idea is
Wow.
we are a Zoom app for now. It's an application that's run on top of Zoom. What we
Mm,
know to do is a couple of things. First, to put the right agenda for the right call on the right side of the screen. So we have a playbook builder, and
mm,
the team lead or the VP sales can adjust it accordingly to the need. If it's a discovery call, negotiation call, closing call, whatever the call it is, and we have different sales methodologies templates. Second, in real time, we can tell you, hey, you covered that from the agenda. hey, you covered that, you covered that, you covered that, you covered that, you haven't covered this and that and that, and you have 10 last minutes, which really helps to create the alignment between the different team members.
Mm.
Third, during the conversation itself, data pops up, discovery, the prospect mentioned things that you want to write down. So what we note is to capture the right piece of information and connect it with the right talking point, the right field in CRM that was defined in the onboarding part of the platform. And the last thing, because we have integration for both for Salesforce and HubSpot, when the conversation is done, everything is pushed to the CRM when the conversation is done. So the overall idea is like 4 minutes after the call is done, you have playbook covered, notes taken, and fields in the fields in the CRM updated. So that's a whole new way of thinking about your day-to-day job as a salesperson.
Got it. And so the second feature that you said is the playbook. Like not that many
Yes.
people. So you would spend all this time creating this awesome sales playbook, and then it would just sit there collecting dust, basically, or so somewhere in the computer, right? Like nobody
Yeah.
would use it.
Yeah.
So, and then you mentioned, so everything's inside sales now. So you would bring up your Zoom as though you were doing a Zoom call, and then the playbook would also be popped out and guiding you along with the sales call, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
True. So it's a
Yeah, and
real-time
so you would
guidance.
have you have the call, and then the key information that you're trying to capture would then be ported back to the CRM.
True. 100% sure.
Got it.
Yep.
So how much work is involved in making the playbook at the beginning? The
So
sales leaders, they have to make it first, right?
yeah, it's a great question, and in order to make it the easiest it can be, so we build the different templates based on the different sales methodologies. So for example, if you're using Medic, Medpic, Bond, spin selling challenger based on the different sales perceptions, so we have already templates for those kind of calls, and you just need to customize it accordingly to your needs. And what we saw, by the way, and I don't know, probably it won't be a surprise for you, David, but there's no, of course, one company is very different from another, but by the end of the day, every salesperson is trying to do the very similar thing. You are looking for the needs of the customer. You try to understand them as much as you can during a conversation, and you need to understand how to tailor it to the value proposition of the company you're selling the product. And basically, it's I wouldn't say like it's 90% similar, but there's a high level of similarity between one company to another in many cases.
Mm-hmm. And so they can sit down. There's templates or frameworks in Winn.AI that they can use to create their initial playbook based on if they're using some of those sales methodologies.
Yeah, and I think one step further, I think that in contrary to to have a book or a file of, I don't know, 40 pages on your on your computer, I think
Mm-hmm.
creating a very actionable playbook that you can measure, that you can adopt, you can customize it according, from one day to another, that's much more powerful.
And how do you measure something like that? So is that something that you would do with Winn.AI to measure the success of the usage of the playbook?
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you a secret. This is the reason why we call ourselves Winn.AI,
Okay.
because we truly believe that a high level adoption rate of the playbook will result in better win rate. Now, the way we measure it, because we know how to track it based on the conversation itself, so we can tell the sales leader, hey, listen, David is adherent for 100% with the playbook that you wanted them to
Mm,
be, and now connect it with the results of David. Now he's like the number one seller in the
mm,
company, and he's 100% adherent. So it means you have a great playbook. But let's take a different example, like he's number one seller, but only 40% adherent. So it means that you don't have a problem with David, you have a problem with the playbook. Now, this is
mm.
kind of data that you don't know today because you are not measuring it, because you're not defining it. And this is part of what, like, the secret sauce of what we do.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know how many people are listening to this, so hopefully we can keep that secret for now between me and you. It's
It's just you
interesting
and
though.
me, David.
Yeah.
It's late,
Because
late in the evening of Thursday. All good.
this will just be broadcast, across the universe. But um no, it's interesting though, because I always think of, like, in my past, the best people, I almost said salesmen. God, that's outdated. The best
Mm,
salespeople are like a lone wolf. It's hard to replicate what they're doing. So I could see that, like, a great salesperson would be at 100% of quota, but they're only using 50% of the playbook sometimes. So
mhm.
so it feels like the value is trying to increase the effectiveness of the playbook, and being able to scale the sales team, so it's not just all relying on one amazing salesperson.
100%. I think that the trend that we see now that sells, we have aspects of art, but we have aspects of science.
Yeah.
And in order to do science, you need to define and you need to measure. And the art of sales is all about the EQ, is all about creating the connection, creating trust. This is art without a doubt. But there are parts which are science. Let's measure them
Yeah.
and improve.
Yeah, and this is very it's relevant to today, because we do almost all of our calls on Zoom. And do you feel like it's harder to sell over Zoom than if you're just in real life with a person, like sitting across the table from someone?
Depends. So I used to sell to hospitals in the US.
Yeah.
By the way, don't do it.
Okay.
Horrible thing. Horrible thing.
Are you
Um,
okay?
and it's PTSD. So no, and I'm saying it's horrible because you have big problem with the business side of it, but
Yeah.
it's horrible because it takes a lot of time. It took me 2.5 years to get into Boston Children's Hospital, and it's a great hospital, number one for endocrinologists. Um, but it takes lots of time. And when you're working with someone, let's say that today we are starting a sales cycle, and we know that it will take us 2 years. The effort of creating relationship is the heavy lift here. It's not all about, it's not about all about just qualification and things like that. So relationship here is much more important than the rest of it. And for that, face-to-face meeting are crucial, I think, and building, going out and to drink beer together or eat good steak together, that's crucial for such a maneuver. But I think that one of the things that COVID brought us is a much more efficient, so potentially much more efficient sales process, and people got used to buy things, whether it's as people from e-commerce, but also by a SaaS platform much more easily. And we do not expect today to sit with for 1 hour with a salesperson. So 20 minutes demo, straight to the point. You know, 2 minutes icebreaker in the beginning, and that's it, to the point. And I think we see it more and more and more and more and more. And it's not by chance that PLG became like huge during the last 2 years, and because it comes with a reason, or PLG or PLS, product-led sales, comes with a reason. People want to buy faster, want more simple sales cycle, more simple sales process, and I think that's the trend, and it's gonna increase.
Yeah, I think so too. And do you find that when you take a sales call, for example, right now on Zoom, that
Mhm.
it's mostly a one-way conversation, and so the salesperson just they don't really ask many questions, or they're not trying to dig out any real information. They just want to get on, show you the product, and get off and get a decision made. um, that seems to be the trend that I see in now that we've gone to the Zoom almost exclusively.
Yeah, I think, and I understand what you're saying, because it's
Hmm.
really hard to build the soft, the small talk part. It looks artificial when you do it on Zoom, but when I
Yeah.
sit with you, and you're gonna tell me a little bit about your family, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit my 2 years old twins. So it's much more natural. But that's one aspect. But I think that the other aspect of asking the right question and will be interested in the needs of the customer, I think that yet good salespeople do it, and they do it on Zoom, and they do it on face to face. So I think that the best practice of asking questions and asking follow-up questions and being intrigued by the customer use case, I think that still a solid best practice.
Yeah. And it seems like um, the, all the customers have business problems that they're trying to
Mhm.
solve. They probably have two or three main business problems that are top of mind. They're attempting to solve. Otherwise, they wouldn't talk to you.
Of
They
course.
think that there's some reason that you can help them solve a problem.
Hmm.
I think the if the salespeople have potentially like a playbook that has a few questions to try to dig out what are the problems that they're having and how important are those problems, versus just, okay, I'm going to show you what we do and talk for like 15 minutes about my software. I think that they, the salespeople, lose the audience kind of because the prospect or the customer is thinking, how can this guy help me? Can you help me or not? But first you need to know what the problem is, right?
And for sure, and we live in a generation which we have a very limited attention. I would say
Mhm.
20%, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. In the beginning, we spoke about if people hear something interesting for the last 1 minute, for the first 1 minute, I would say something like that. We don't have time. We live in the world of social media. We live in the world of post. It's short post. It's tweets. So everything need to be, in a good fit. So when I'm on a conversation with you, and I'm not pitching, and I'm asking you questions, is the only way to keep you in the loop, keep you in the conversation, keep you intrigued. So once again, I think that having a good conversation and asking the questions and not pitching, still solid, and really fits to the challenge of attention that we live today with all social media, and so much in distractions in our life.
Yeah, it's almost like, you know you're exactly right. It's like TikTok. TikTok has become so popular because it collapses. And even I am an old guy. I like TikTok. It collapses your attention span into like 3 seconds. I don't know how long it is, but it's fascinating. And it's almost like the new sales process should be, okay, I want this to be the most valuable use of your time.
True.
You can get 99% of the information that's out there yourself. You can even buy the product, like product-led growth. You can buy it yourself. So
Hmm.
what good am I as a salesperson? It's to find out what your problem is and prioritize it and see if I can help you either with this product that I have or my friend or a connection or some way to help you out. Otherwise, you can just watch a demo on a video, right? What do you need
Yeah,
me for? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So
of course. And there's a very interesting research showing that millennials don't
yeah,
want to speak with salespeople.
yeah,
And we have the stigma about salespeople, which are very pushy, and I think that's also changed a little bit. So I see more smart people, and intelligent people and curious people getting into sales, and not trying to push only down the pipeline. you want really people to create connection, and you want really people to understand with high emotional quality, not only the only one willing to close the deal. And you see this trend going very strong now. Like more and more people are very different from the old version of salespeople as we saw
Mm.
in the movies.
Yeah, it's true. And the pushy, you still need to be a little bit pushy as a salesperson
Without a
in a
doubt.
couple of ways. It's almost like we've swung too far to like being nice and not wanting to hurt anybody's feelings. But going outbound and talking to strangers, you do have to be pushy a little bit because 99% of the people probably don't want to talk to you. So you gotta have that. And then
You need
following
to have
up,
grit,
right? Yeah.
grit.
You
You
need
need to
that
have
grit.
grit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because if you're just waiting for someone to give you a lead or, to wait for the marketing team to do your job for you, you're going to be starving to death. And and
Without a
and
doubt.
then following up. I mean, the best salespeople follow up relentlessly over the course of months and years. They're just continuously following up. And, you know, you got to push a little bit because people are so busy they forget about you 5 minutes after you leave. You know what I mean?
OCD is a great advantage for salespeople.
Yeah, it is. And for entrepreneurs. So I want to ask you, your
That's true.
own entrepreneur journey, right? Because
Hmm.
you were in the a completely different world, and now you're starting this company.
Yeah.
So, I know that it's a completely different topic, but what have you learned so far, and what recommendations would you have for people that want to start their the next unicorn?
Yeah, so it's funny that because it's related to the previous part of the conversation. I think that the best position for entrepreneurs pre being a entrepreneur, before being an entrepreneur, is doing sales. Because
Hmm.
raising funds, because getting the right people to work for you, getting customers, it's all about sales. It's all about sales. So if you have the opportunity to go and do sales, proper sales,
Mhm.
before being entrepreneur, I think that for 100% will serve your entrepreneurial journey. So that's first. And I think that the two main things that I learned along the way is first to be all in. And I think that I quit my job 1 year ago, 1 year and a half, and I was still in the phase of ideation, and there was so much unknowns, uh, endless parts which were unknowns. And in some point, you need to have the leap of faith and to say, "This is the direction, and I'm gonna try this." You won't get the 100% risk-free, and that's this is the answer, and this is what you need to do, and this is part of being an entrepreneur. And by the way, this is part of the reason why it's hard. Other way, everyone will do it. And
Mm.
it's really hard, and it's really stressful, and it's really facing with yourself, and your fears and your self perception. And I think that's a really tough journey in order to survive. And this is last tip. I would say that in order to survive this crazy ride, I think you must have support from home. And the fact that my wife and the decision to go out to be entrepreneur and to have no salary for 1 year almost was a decision of my wife and myself together. And
Mm.
and in some point during the way when I got almost broken, she told me, "Hey, Eldad, we made the decision together, and you need to keep pushing, keep doing, keep doing, keep doing." And the fact that I had a very, very strong and supportive family and partner, this is for 100% one of the main reasons why we got so far.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Amen. And it's
And
amazing
by
that
and
yeah. I
and by the way,
it's
she's a heart surgeon, so she's busy
Oh
as
my
well.
God. Oh, geez. Okay. Well, I know that there's so many ups and downs on a daily basis. So to have that support and not have to feel all alone, because it's a lonely journey. And it's a roller coaster, I would say.
On an hourly basis. Why on a daily basis from 1 hour to another?
Yeah, but it's good advice in that anyone listening, if you're in sales and you're thinking about this, all of those skills that you learn and the very things that we're talking about right now are so applicable not only to sales and marketing and the go-to-market side of working at a company, but starting your own thing. It's great to have those skills.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And so if they want to check out Winn.AI and see how that they can integrate that into their sales process, is it released? Are you looking for beta customers? How does it work?
So it's yet in early access.
Yeah.
So we have beta users. We don't give it to everyone, but
Okay.
feel free to approach us on Winn.AI, Winn.AI, WINN.AI,
Okay.
and go ahead. Sorry, it's late here in Tel Aviv.
You're doing really well though.
Doing my best.
Because you,
Doing
you
my
said
best.
it's the middle of the night. I was like, oh man, that's got to be tough. And I'm standing between you and the weekend. I'm the only barrier. Right
David,
now.
now just imagine this is me in the middle of the night. Like imagine what happens like 4 hours before.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd
no,
love
anyway, so
I definitely, and I just was going to say I'd love to come there someday. I mean, and meet you and just be in the vibe
of
of the
course,
startup nation. It's the startup nation. There's
startup
so
nation
much.
and good food
Yeah,
and good food nation.
yeah, that's what I've heard too. I have so many friends who it's Zoom friends, but friends and people that work with our company and it's way past time to come and visit you and
We're
you know
waiting, David.
I
We're
know.
just waiting for here. I'm waiting you in the airport now. I'm on my way.
Okay. Well, I mean, in the meantime, I'm going to get online Winn.AI with two N's and
Yep.
start working on my playbook and plug this thing into Zoom so that we can see that performance improvement. And I want to follow your journey as you develop this product.
Thank you. It's a crazy ride, and I try to and on social media I try to share part of the stories, and yeah, it's a very interesting journey, no doubt.
Yep, definitely. And so we will connect as well I follow you on LinkedIn, but everyone should follow Eldad on LinkedIn to see how this journey is playing out. And we'll post the link to the podcast there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, David. It was a pleasure.